Good morning, children. Welcome to today's history class. Today, I am going to explain about a closer look of Akbar's policies and about Akbarnama. Now, you have to ready for the class. Take your textbook and listen this video. Watch this video, and after that, you can do your works. Okay. Now we can go to our class. Akbarnama and Ain-e-Akbari. Akbar ordered one of his close friends and courtiers, Abdul Fasil, to write a history of his region. Abdul Fasil wrote a 3-volume history of Akbar's region titled Akbarnama. The first volume deals with Akbar's ancestors and the second volume recorded the events of Akbar's region. The third volume is the Ain-e-Akbari. It deals with the Akbar's administration, household, army, the revenues and the geography of his empire. It is also provides rich details about the traditions and cultures of the people living in India. A closer look at Akbar's policies. The broad features of administration were laid down by Akbar and were elaborately discussed by Abdul Fasil in his book The Akbarnama, in particular in its last volume, The Ain-e-Akbari. Abdul Fasil explained that the empire was divided into provinces called Subas, governed by a Subadar who carried out of both political and military functions. Each province also had a financial officer or Diwan for the maintenance of peace and order in his province. The Subadar was supported by other officers such as the military paymaster, Bakshi, the minister in charge of religious and charitable patronage, Sadar, then military commanders, Faujidar, and the town police commanders, Kotwal. They are the important officers in the Akbar's region. Abdul Fasil explained that the empire was divided into provinces like Subas. Okay, provinces. So Akbar's region is divided into different provinces. It was known as Subas and governed by Subadar. Okay, who carried out both political and military functions. Each province also had a financial officer or Diwan. Okay, for the maintenance of peace and order in his provinces, the Subadar was supported by other officers like such as the military paymaster Bakshi, the minister in charge of religious and charitable patronages, Sadar, then military commanders Faujidar, and the town police commander Kotwal. Okay, then Akbar's nobles commanded large armies and had access to large amount of revenue. While they were loyal to the empire, functioned efficiently, but by the end of the 17th century, many nobles had but independent network on their own. Their loyalties, the empire were weakened by their own self-interest. Okay, so what happened? The Akbar's nobles commanded a large armies and they access the large amount of revenue. Then while these nobles loyal to the empire, this everything is functioning very nicely. Okay, efficiently also. But by the end of the 17th century, what happened? Many nobles had built independent networks of their own. So they work for their own progress. So what happened? Their loyalties, the empire was weakened by their own self-interest. Okay. Then while Akbar was at Fatehpur Sikri during the 1570, he started discussion on religion with the ulamas, brahmanas, Jesuit priests who were Roman Catholics, and these discussions took place in the Ibadat Khana. So while Akbar was in Fatehpur Sikri during the 15th century, Fatehpur Sikri was the palace of Akbar, and he started discussion on religions with the ulamas, Brahmins, and Jesuit priests who were Roman Catholics. These discussion took place in the Ibadat Khana. Ibadat Khana means it was Akbar's court. Okay, this discussion took place in Ibadat Khana. He was interested in the religion and the social customs of different people. So he was interested to different religious teachings and social customs of different people. So Akbar started to discuss with these people about their own religious matters. Then Akbar's interaction with the people of different faiths made him realize that religious scholars who emphasize ritual and dogma were often bigots. Their teachings created divisions and disharmony. At last, with this discussion, Akbar understood that all the teachings of the religious scholars, that is dogma, it is related to by gods also. Dogma means a statement or an interpretation declared as authoritative with the expectation that it would be followed without questioning. So this dogma, laws of these or teachings of religious scholars, especially Muslim scholars, that teachings don't tolerant with the other religion. So all these things are bigots. Bigots means an individual who is intolerant of other person's religious beliefs or culture. So all these teachings make divisions. So that is why the teachings created divisions and disharmony among his subjects. This eventually led Akbar to the idea of sul-e-kul or universal peace. This idea of tolerance did not discriminate between people of different religion in his realm. Instead, it focused on a system of ethics, honesty, justice, peace that was universally applicable. So at last, Akbar's formed an idea of sul-e-kul, that means universal peace. All other religious teachings, many religious teachings making many differences and disharmony. Then so that at last Akbar find out, that is Akbar's idea is that of sul-e-kul or universal peace. This idea of tolerance did not discriminate between people of different religion in his realm. Instead, it focused on system of ethics, honesty, justice, and peace. His teaching was like this: all are equal. So there is no any discrimination between based on any religion. All are equal. All are coming from the same code, like that his teachings, and that is known as sul-e-kul, universal peace. So he stand for universal peace based on religion. Any kinds of problems, no need. At last he was reaching in the idea of sul-e-kul. That was a universally applicable. Abdul Fasil helped Akbar in framing a vision of governance around his idea of sul-e-kul. Okay, so this principle, very good principle followed by Akbar, that is sul-e-kul, universal peace. Okay, the administrative and military efficiency of the Mughal empire led to great economic and commercial prosperity. The enormous wealth and resources commanded by the Mughal elite made them extremely powerful group people in the late 17th century. As the authority of Mughal emperor slowly declined, his servants emerged as powerful centers of power in the region. They constituted new dynasties and held command of provinces like Hyderabad, Awadh. Although they continued to recognize the Mughal emperor in Delhi as their master, by the 18th century, the provinces of the empire had consolidated their independent political identities. So, by the 17th century, this Mughal emperor started to decline because the nobles and elites and local chief rulers, they were started to their own interest, and so that slowly this Mughal emperor slowly started to decline. Okay, and the local rulers discharged power from the Mughals, and they independently ruled in the local areas. Like that, new dynasties and new regions get freedom from the Mughal emperors, and they started a new dynasty, that is Hyderabad and Awadh. Like these important regions get independent. Okay, because of the maybe the lack of the Mughal efficiency. Okay, so the last rulers after the Aurangzeb, there was no a good Mughal ruler. That is why a weak Mughal rulers started to rule. Like that, slowly important regions independent from the Mughals, and they themselves make dynasties and like that go through. So like that these the Mughal empires were declined. Okay, so today this chapter is over. Now you have to read this chapter properly and understand it. Okay children, this chapter over, so you have to read this chapter completely and 1 or 2 3 times and underline important points, and after that you write carefully your notes and maintain your notes, and without any spelling mistakes you have to write it, because the answers I am giving, so you are copying that one, so without a mistake you have to write it. Okay, so take care and do all the things very well. Thank you to listening my class and do your activities very well. Okay, thank you.